Thank you very much, Zoom. I appreciate it. All right. Welcome to where Zachary Shallow used to roam around the earth, kids out there. Now it's universally grounded, better known as the Black Lion's Domain. I, again, am Zachary Shiloh. I am the soon to be 7 times best-selling author. I am the host of the General Flotastic Zone where love shines the brightest called Black Lions in Airspace. My podcast, my baby, is getting ready to turn 3 years old. Season 4 begins in about 3 days. So, had some on my own back. I survived the storms. I love it. So, kids out there, what you're watching is called Black Lion's Domain. My baby, this interview segment, is now in its 3rd season. I've been scouring around the universe trying to get wonderful souls to join me. And sometimes I win, sometimes I lose. I'm not going to complain, but I got a winner right here. Yes, Abigail Sinclair, if you are ever watching this, thank you very much. I know we don't really talk, but thank you very much for doing your Rolodex of friends and colleagues. I am humble, I am grateful, and hopefully more of our type shall come along. With that said, she is a podcaster, she is a coach, and much, much more as she gives me her time. Welcome to Black Lion's Domain, Rona Lewis of the Best Souls podcast. How are you, my dear?
I'm fantastic. Thank you so much for having me on your show. I so appreciate it.
You're welcome. I hope one day I could be on your show. I love it. I found your show again, like I said, by way of Abigail Sinclair. One day I was just minding my own business. I scoured her page. I said, okay, let's see what this podcast is all about. And you're talking business with your partner, Jeffrey, who I hope to include one day. I said, whoa, okay. I love these two actually talking about business and just gelling off each other. I love it. Your energy is always high.
It is. Yeah. That's why Jeffrey wanted to partner with me, for more than one reason. He's an organizational development specialist. He's a sales specialist, when it comes to consulting, and he understands. I'm a corporate consultant for better team engagement and fixing corporate culture, leadership, things like that, and coming with an attitude of play and which helps innovative thinking, creative thinking. He saw the value in it, and how having a positive mindset is key for changing minds, getting buy-in, all that kind of stuff. So we decided to pair up, and we started the podcast. We're working on programs to work together. So it's been it's still fairly new. We actually just started this right before the first of the year, like October, November, something like that. And we've known each other for almost 2 years. So we were talking about this for quite a while, trying to figure out, how we were going to do it, what angle, how we wanted to be different than other podcasts. So this is how we're doing it. We're working with not only the facts and data, which he is a favorite of. My expertise is more of the intuitive aspects, the emotional aspects, things like that.
All right, I've been jonesing about getting you on here. Eventually, I'll get Jeffrey. I'm determined to get him.
Okay.
Let me see. So, my dear, you hinted at a certain word that made me drawn to you. The word play. Would you like to actually enlighten my listeners as into what you meant?
Well, first of all, play is not just something people do for fun. Play is also an attitude. We just basically, as a society, are geared toward negativity. So when you have more of a playful mindset, A, you're more positive. B, you tend to look at things with a child's viewpoint, one of newness and adventure and curiosity. Adults tend to be jaded. They have this circle of comfort, that it's always done this way. I'm going to drive the same way to work every day. I'm going to have the same 10 things to eat all the time. Whatever it is, you get into habits. And if you want to create new things in your life, if you have a small business, you need to, or a large business, you need to keep innovating, because otherwise, nothing will change and you kind of get left behind. So all these things are reasons to have a playful attitude. And when I give programs, when we give programs, we tend to throw in activities, games, and things that will keep people cohesive, give them ways to come up with new ideas, and teach them tips and tricks that will help their creativity and innovation and authenticity, all that kind of thing.
Oh, I love that. You're talking to my inner child, right? He's actually losing his junk. He's like, oh, I love this lady. She's fun.
Thank you.
Oh, gosh. All right, my dear, you talked about play. You talked about your podcast. Let's get into your background.
Okay. So I actually have a lot of years in advertising and marketing. I started out in the media industry, where I started out as a sales assistant, and then went to a buyer, and then finally to a salesperson, worked my way up the ladder to VP of sales as a media rep. That end of the industry, the media rep industry represents radio, television, cable, now a lot of online things, and selling airtime to ad agencies for their clients. So basically, I was on the very fringes of the entertainment business, because I had the advertising I sold kept those shows on the air. So so I started out in New York doing that. And then I left New York, moved to Colorado, of all places, because I met my ex-husband, who was a contemporary jazz recording artist. And I moved to Colorado, worked for newspapers there, and then we moved to Florida. Anyway, what I started noticing was the fact that for such a fun business, people were kind of stressed and not having fun at it. It's when you're selling time, it can be very stressful, because once that time period goes away, you can't get it back again. Sure. So there's that extra pressure, just like with print media, they have to go to press at certain times. So there's an extra set of pressure when you're selling that, and you have to make your numbers, et cetera, et cetera. And I had an epiphany when I was working in New York. One of my best friends was probably one of the best salespeople I'd ever met, and her name is Gail Rothfuss. And I was having just panic attacks, because I was putting so much pressure on myself. And one day she came up to me and put her nose this close to mine and said, "Rona, basically she verbally bitch slapped me and said, no one ever died from advertising. There is no blood. Stop taking this so seriously." And it was kind of an epiphany for it. And I changed my attitude, and eventually became a better salesperson and kind of lightened up, which made the interaction between people so much better. I became more successful. I started just researching creativity, creative thinking, innovation, because I wanted better ways to communicate. And by the time I moved to Colorado and then to Florida, I learned so much about the human condition that I decided to go into business myself. So when I was getting divorced in 2005, I chose to move to LA, and I basically started. I started my own business. It started out as Play More Corporate Wellbeing, and then it morphed into Playful Mind Project. I started that with my friend Jessica. She had to back away for various reasons, and then I found Jeffrey. When I started Play More, that's when I really got Play More. It was I was adding certain aspects to it, and I actually failed at it. Because I tried to grow too quickly. And that was, if you're going to fail, try a bunch of things. And if they don't work, you reiterate what you're doing. And if you're going to fail fast, which is kind of what happened. And so I learned from that. And when I went into business with Jessica, I had much more success. And she had, like I said, she had to back off for personal reasons. So I bought her half of the business. And then Jeffrey and I partnered up with Biz Souls, and we're kind of still finding our footing, and his expertise with mine is very synergistic. So it's working out really well. And the podcast is not only helping our voice, we're figuring out new programs and finding new ways to serve our clients and our audience.
Oh, I love that, Holy. I wish you two nothing but the best.
Thank you.
Dear, you mentioned that you actually help certain TV shows stay on air. Do you mind divulging in like maybe 1 to 3 of them?
Oh, it actually doesn't work per show. It's per television station.
Oh, perfect.
So we represented various television stations, and we sold their airtime to ad agencies. So so it may be in New York at one time we represented the WABC. Here in Los Angeles, it was KABC. So it was the entire station as opposed to particular programs. I did, however, I was on air for a couple of years. I was on KGO, which is the ABC affiliate in San Francisco. I was a permanent guest on their show because I also went to culinary school, and I'm a certified personal trainer, which I did as I was growing my own business. Sometimes, you have to do more than one thing to keep the money flowing, so they found me, and so I did that for a few years, which was awesome because it taught me what it's like behind the scenes for local television, and helped me even more in my business now. So everything kind of came my way for a reason, and hindsight's 2020. So, and I think everybody, that's a point that everyone needs to reason every time to understand. Every time you get a no, every time you get a fail, that's actually a blessing in disguise. It just means that there's something else better there for you, right? And you have to be open for it. So, so that was a good thing. And so I hope that gave you a better explanation of what it meant to be a media rep.
Okay, that gave me a very good thing. And now that I'm remembering my history of my show, I tried to go for some of the biggest self-help teachers of all time, and they shot me down. So, and I'm getting ready to tie with one of them in best-selling authorships tomorrow.
Good. Excellent.
I said to myself, oh, wow, okay. If they're not coming on with me, it's not that I suck. It's just that they're busy. Not only that, but something better comes along. And then lo and behold, yeah, sure, I don't got Les Brown. I don't got, what's this crazy one's name that I'm chatting with tomorrow? Marianne Williamson.
Ah,
Yeah, sure, I don't got Mary Morrissey, who was one of my teachers. But that's all right, because I got the likes of you. I got my dear friend Blair Hayes, or the almighty Blairkins, as I call her. Who else have I had that made me go, oh, Victoria Maskell from the United Kingdom. I never thought in a million years that I'd even get to sniff her head. I even said that to her on her actual interview last year. I said, Victoria Kins, I didn't even expect to sniff your hair. I found her by way of somebody that was associated with Blair. I said, what? I thought I had to literally take a double take. I said, no way, this is not the same one. So I had to literally ping that person that was actually part of a virtual summit with me in Blair. I said, Amanda, is this Victoria Maskell, the same one that runs a certain podcast on productivity and prosperity? She said, yes. I said, holy shit. No way. And I bothered Victoria. Hi, Victoria, if you're listening to this. But I bothered her for some time, and I said, oh, wow, when she literally came on. It's still
that's
like
great.
a wet dream.
Ah, well, you know what? Everything happens for a reason. And that's what networking is so key, no matter what you do. I go by the adage, you don't ask, you don't get. You absolutely, you have to try. And if it doesn't work, you never know where that brings you. And, for Jeffrey and I, our podcast is still new. So, you've been on for a few years. We broke double digits for our listeners and our subscribers, which is great, and, we're actually going to start, doing some more PR, and we're going to start paying for ads here and there. And then it's all about networking. It's who do you know? And, I was able to secure my friend Thane Rosenbaum for our podcast on Roe versus Wade. Thane is a political expert, from everyone to CBS to Newsmax to CNN to MSNBC. I've known Thane for 35 years, and I didn't even realize that he did all of these interviews until he started putting them up on Facebook. And so I connected with him. I'm like, Thane, would you come on our podcast? I know we're new. He's like, Rona, anything for you. So it's awesome. It was probably one of our best podcasts. We're just starting to have guests on. We'll probably have a guest on once a month. We have a list, and it's growing depending on our subject matter, because we have like 5 years worth of things that we want to talk about. And anyway, he came on and he explained things simply, like to the layperson. Too many law professors and smarty pants, PhDs, things like that, they want to come on and be the smartest person in the room. And sometimes that's not the way to do it, because you kind of alienate yourself. You got to get your ego out of the way. And he really did. He's so down to earth and so funny. We just had a blast with him. And that's the way I'm the one that tends to look for guests and ideas, and Jeffrey as well. And I just tend to be more on social media for that. And I just know a lot of people. So so I'm looking to see who would make sense for pushing businesses forward, and the emotional side of a business, things like that. So it's networking, who you never know where there's going to be gold. So don't say no to anything. When you judge, you're in your adult mind. So like bringing it back to play, just, find out, talk to people. There may be an epiphany there that you're like, oh my God, this is perfect. Come on the show. Let's talk about that.
I agree wholly. One thing that stood out about you, my dear, is your actual body. With all due respect to you, I actually was noticing you. I said, "Oh, she's got to be the type that goes to the gym." And then,
yeah, well, yeah, I was a fitness model for years when I was much younger, and I did it in my, being in advertising sales. As long as I made my numbers, if I had a modeling gig, I could take an afternoon off and do it, So I did that for a long time. And now I do combine, when we do programs, some health and wellness aspects. So it all, because you can't be productive if you feel like crap,
Oh, I hear you, hon. Me and her were able to talk in a pre-interview Zoom call.
Right.
I noticed her when she actually got back from the gym. She actually told me, "Oh, I'm only about X amount of pounds." I said, "Hon, get out of here. You're not that. Get out of here." I was just jonesing out. Like, I had talked to a bodybuilder. I just said, "Oh."
Well, I wouldn't call me a bodybuilder. I'm just very toned. Bodybuilders are like 170 pounds. I'm almost half that. So.
My heart, look, like I said, you look great for your respective age, my dear.
Thank you.
And I wanted to let my listeners know that if she could do it, so can you.
Absolutely. I'm nothing, I'm nothing special in that way except dedicated, because you got to put you first.
Exactly. And a certain Irish hun, I'm not saying her name, she's gonna learn that exactly one day. Oh, right, Hannah, if I could say your name completely. Okay. So let's see, what else have we talked about? That's absolutely good. Whoa. Oh yeah, you mentioned Roe versus Wade. That was one of the first episodes I actually ever heard you guys talk about. I said, oh. That's interesting. They're going that far. Let's deal here.
Well, one of the things that Jeffrey actually had mentioned that that he wanted to do a podcast on, and I said, if we do it, I don't want to. I definitely have my opinions on it as a woman, and Jeffrey does as well. And I said, the issue that I have with it is not, everyone's allowed their own opinions. And I don't think people understand the true background of it and what the ruling actually was. It was all about privacy. It wasn't about being able to have, the abortion itself. It was about the right to privacy, because the Constitution didn't have anything about that. And, I'm not a lawyer. I'm not anything like that. So one of the things that I am really proud of in that podcast is the fact that we didn't mix church and state. I don't believe in mixing that at all. And I think that's a big problem with our politics. It's hard to bring it back to center, because there doesn't seem to be a center in politics anymore. And we really have to bring it back for, that's what democracy is bringing it back to the fact that we're all allowed our opinions, and that's, freedom of choice, freedom of speech, as long as things are true. Disinformation hurts everybody.
So. Well, depends on who you're asking. Me, I don't really watch TV because I get too emotional. I'm too sympathetic for what some people would say. If they could classify me, they would say, "Oh, he's too sympathetic. He's too apathetic."
Yeah.
So I say to, okay, I'm not getting in your domain. Black Lions domain is Gyro.
Well, and I also think for any of the big movements, everything, and I don't mean this controversially. Everything from the Me Too movement to Black Lives Matter to any of, to Proud Boys. So, let's go on both sides. I think sometimes people get so caught in the ideology and going so far to their left or right or whatever it is, that they really lose sight of the big picture. Whether it's QAnon or whatever. And it's like, okay, let's, don't be so angry that, you label everyone Black or white. And I don't mean that in necessarily skin color sort of way. It's, you are either with us or against us. It's like, well, I can see both sides of it. It's okay. You can't take things at face value. Look it up. That's why, when Jeffrey and I started the podcast, I have a background in a big part of play is improv. And I was just, let's just do this. And he's like, no, that's not the kind of podcast I want to do. Can we do some of it? Yes. And we have to be data driven. We can't just say things. We have to have, backup from them. So that was a big thing that we got into, is the research that backed it up. And then we kind of go into my end of it. And, even like the Great Resignation, people, there were a lot of CEOs that were like, you can't do things in a hybrid or remote way. It just won't work. And I have to give Jeffrey props, because as soon as that started, he's like, they are so wrong. You can always do things remotely. And he was right. CEOs and C-levels are finding out that you can do business in a different way. And that's part of the reason why people are leaving, because upper management doesn't see the big picture. So it goes with so many things. You have to take a step back and have some emotional intelligence and see both sides of the story, be empathetic, and be open to listening. I have a friend of mine who I unfortunately am not friends with anymore, because she's one of these conspiracy theorists and believes in QAnon and that the election was stolen and yada yada yada. And I never put her down. I said, and she was so sure X, Y, and Z was going to happen. I'm like, wow, okay, let's see what happens. I'm not going to say I'm right. So I'm certainly open to it. And nothing ever happened that she said was going to happen. And I was like, okay, and I never put her down. I never said, see, I'm right, And she finally said, I spoke to her one day, and she's like, you just think I'm a crazy conspiracy theory person, and I'm this, and this. And I kind of had to take a step back and say, is this really worth it? I almost felt I was enabling her. So I had to let her go. And I was like, you know what? You're right. This isn't working for either one of us. So I let that go. And that was for my own happiness, because, as we all know, or some of us don't, happiness is a choice. And, in order to bring it back to what you want to always talk about, is grounding. In order to keep myself grounded and to be happy and be aware of what brings me joy, I had to let her go, because she was just toxic, and getting rid of toxic people is key to keeping yourself happy and grounded. And I digress to the, no, I don't.
Progress, my dear.
Yeah, because, whatever group you belong to, or whatever your ideology, just keep yourself open to listen. It's not going to necessarily change your mind. It will at least allow you to take in all sides and be open to, if not totally changing your mind, having an understanding of where the other side comes from.
I agree with you. And you spoke of Black Lives Matter.
Mm-hmm.
I'm kind of like in the middle as far as they're concerned. Okay, for them, when they show up when Black crime happens. But where are they when black on black crime occurs? Where are they when Caucasians get into it with each other? They're nowhere to be seen.
Right.
That's why I'm like, whenever they come around. And I always see the same pattern. They'll show up when there is like a Eric Gardner or Taylor or what's this other kid? Trayvon Martin.
Trayvon Martin, yeah.
Whatever. So they'll show up when those hats are being choked, being shot, whatever the case may be. But when, say, hypothetically, you got into it with Blair Hayes. I'm just using you two as an example. Say you two actually had a fight, and then one of you pulled a gun out on each other, and then goes the weasel. They ain't gonna show up. They ain't gonna show up for that. Say Emmanuel Vega got into it with Pedro Morales. Nowhere to be seen. I'm not saying this to be a conspiracy theorist or anything like that.
It's pick and choose. Yeah.
Where are you?
And that's to my point. They all do that. It's like, okay, what's going to make the best media story, and sensationalism? Because and I'm not saying that these things don't matter. Don't get me wrong. There is a point to all of them, and you don't know the background of the people who are in the stories, and what exactly what happened until it's like the January 6th insurrection. I know people who say it wasn't as big a deal as the media is making it out to be, because they were angry, they were this, they were that, they didn't, and I'm like, I don't necessarily agree with that, and I'm certainly willing to listen. And I'm just, and when I hear testimony, it's like, okay, I'm learning more about what happened. So I'm just kind of taking a back seat and seeing what happens with it. And how much do you know about the background of everyone from George Floyd to the Proud Boys? It's like, what was their motivation? What was their personality? What did they do for a living? Why are they so angry? Why did this happen? You have to, it's a heavy duty question to ask, and people take what they hear, or and what they hear from their friends who said they were so well informed. People hang out with like-minded people. That just fuels the fire. Open yourself up. Yeah.
I agree, hon. That's the absolute truth. I love talking to you. It's absolutely fun. I hope my business gets into higher gear so I could be on this sort. Oh God, the things I probably say that would be absolutely fun.
Well, we have to think of a subject that's near and dear to your heart, that you're an expert on, that you want people to know, and then we'll make it happen.
Like health. Like health.
Well, how does it pertain? We're really more business oriented.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
Yeah, so it could be something like that, and just write down what we'd have to know what your background is and how you're an expert in your subject.
Oh, okay. So,
that's how it works.
That's fine. I got no problem. People say that I'm business oriented. I know how to promote and whatnot. So I thought, okay, let's try and go along with somebody like her who knows what she's talking about in the business. So
sure.
one day, hopefully I'll come on. Okay, my dear, with that said, I believe we've had so much fun. And
this was great.
I know it's 9:30 your time. So dear, let's wrap this bad boy up. With that said, my dear Rona Lewis of the Biz Souls podcast, Your desires of the future, madam, are.
My desire, well, we want to grow the podcast, use that as part of our marketing strategy to get more companies and businesses interested in partnering with us for our consulting and programs and keynotes, things like that. And my large desire is to change the world's attitude using play.
Oh, I love that, and I support it fully. All right, my dear. If not now, within the next week to a month, can I bother you for 3 people you believe I should talk to in this interview segment?
Sure thing.
All
Absolutely.
right. And with that said, the final piece before I hit the outro completely. What can I, Zachary Shiloh, do for you going forward?
I would say keep doing what you're doing. Have a curious attitude. Try to get people of all different walks of life on your show, and ask them the hard questions.
Okay.
Yeah, asking them hard questions gets them to think, and the more people who start thinking, the more they start coming up with innovative answers.
Oh, I love that answer.
That's right. Pay it forward.
That a lot.
Yeah.
They do that a lot, and I shall not stop because my podcast is needed. I keep on doing daddly sometimes because I need to rest. Mm-hmm. Like I keep on telling people before I really hit the outro. I do work. I do have my job. Not only that, but I live my life beyond this. As much as I love it, as much as I respect it, as much as I want it to be paid, just like other endeavors, I'm a human being. I look at my dear friend Miyoko Fukino, who's taking care of family business. I was her first guest on her podcast. She was so hyped to have me. And days like today, where there's a full moon, she got zoinked. She got zoinked. She wasn't feeling quite. And I said this time again, she needed to get rest. She was so hyped for it. She was like, oh, come on, Zachary Stein, can we please record my podcast? I said, no, Mayo, no, Maya, you need to rest. I can smell you. I can feel you in the yes. You're chomping at the bit to get it recorded. Yes, and I want to record with you. But health comes before the podcast.
That's right.
Health is more important. I don't care what your industry is. Podcasting, retailer, whatever. If you're going to do a podcast, your health is more important. So she would eventually get her podcast running, and then she would fade off the planet for reasons unknown to me. Another group was a clients of mine now. I was in awe when they had me on their show. Then all of a sudden they faded off. I said this to Rose Davidson of the Talking with the Experts podcast, that I'm amazed how podcasts like theirs go away, but yet people like Johnny Depp and Amber Heard, they're #1 news. Like negativity, I don't like that at all. I don't like that at all.
Sure.
But yet, here I stand, here I roar, here I fight, here I claw, here I fly, as the lion and dragon I am. And the likes of you, I bow to respects because you actually give me the motivation to do so. And with that said, one goal, one aim, one road, one focus, one life, one pure mission. This podcast, Feel Love out there, is made out of love. Even if I am venting at times, even if I'm venting, I am what they call passionate. I'm passionate about her. I'm passionate about these fools I live with upstairs. Passionate about the podcasting world, the writing industry, whatever. And that's the bottom line because Zachary Shiloh Watts says so. Thank you very much for listening. And please support Rona and Jeffrey on their podcast. It is phenomenal. And the next time that Zachary Shiloh Watts of what is this book, Blair Hayes, or we call it Dare to Dream, we shall be talking to, hopefully, I can say this Hun's name, and she could use the post. Hi, Jen Taylor, Hun, my dear, what do I call you? Seductive psychotherapist, Hun. I'm looking forward to your interview. And then the next time I believe I'm being interviewed by anybody or vice versa, Heather Vickery from Abigail Sinclair's Rolodex, she will be joining me too on the 29th of June. With that said, thank you again for watching this live stream. The class is adjourned. See ya.